Peter, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you, Michael.
Good. Just any medical update? How did the players pull up? Is there anyone ruled out for next week, or anybody coming back into contention for next weekend?
We're pretty good overall, considering it was an Inspire. Caelan Blade came off with that ankle, but he's moving pretty well now, so he'll be in contention again. Oisin Dowling came off at half-time with a calf injury. Again, we expect him to be available by the second half of the week, so we'll assess him. Seamus Hurley-Langton came off with that concussion in the first minute, but again, he's passed all of his protocols, so he's available for selection if we choose to go that way.
Very good. Listen, top of the table, 3 wins out of 3. I was just looking back, it was 3 defeats from 3 this time last season. So, I mean, that must be a great buzz to have set out your stall early on.
Yeah, it is. I think, lots of people said to us that it's a great opportunity for us having the 3 home games to start the season, and as you said, certainly comparing to the run that we had last year. At the same time, it was only going to be a good opportunity if we took advantage of that. So, yeah, really pleased to get the 3 wins. I think the momentum was important in the context of our season. It's important in terms of having the new coaching group and obviously everything that goes with that. So, really pleased with that. But we saw last year it's a long old body of work that gets you through to the top 8 and then hopefully knockout games. So we need to keep moving in that direction.
And obviously, as you say, you're at home for these 3 games. And I make it you won 3 of 9 regular season games away last year, and obviously you had a great win up in Ulster in the playoffs. But I mean, that must be an area that you must be looking to improve on this year.
It certainly is. We've looked really closely at our away game form. We've looked really closely at how we manage those away games, not just in the 80 minutes that we play in some of those games that we've probably underwhelmed in, been a bit underwhelming in, but also in terms of how we prepare for those games, what the week looks like, the lead-in, the travel, the time at the hotel. So we've really picked that apart. I don't think there's a silver bullet in there, but we're certainly looking at that really closely, and it's a neat challenge to have 3 away games in a row to try some of those things out and to see what kind of progress we're making in that respect as well.
Is there anything specific you could tell me there about what you're trying to tighten up to your advantage?
Not specifically in terms of there being one clean answer. I think the biggest outcome we need is a greater intensity and greater consistency of the performance within the 80 minutes in some of those away games. So obviously we can talk about that openly with the players and we can set rugby targets around that, but I think it's the whole piece in terms of our mindset leading into trips, whether we can tailor our game plan to cater a little bit more for the intensity and for the more accurate execution that we probably need away from home. So yeah, there's a lot of work going into it, but ultimately what we would hope to see is greater consistency and greater intensity of not so much effort, but probably application in terms of how we're getting after opposition teams.
A great win on the weekend, and the final try. Can I just ask you? Did you ask Jack about that kick? Because either way, if he saw that maybe it was going to be intercepted and change his mind halfway through, that's a brilliant skill. Or if it was pre-planned to throw a dummy and then kick it, that's a brilliant skill in itself. What did he say about that?
It's certainly a brilliant skill. I think Jack's one of the best going around in terms of being able to identify some of those kick pass opportunities, whether that's in the attacking 22 or elsewhere down the field. At the same time, I think he's got a great feel for understanding when the run or the pass is on and the kick, and being able to just you don't have time in those moments to overthink it and sort of weigh out the strengths and weaknesses of either option. It is very much feel and instinct, and I think he's one of the best in the business there. Certainly in terms of us having that option in the attacking 22 to have a kick pass in the width, I think there'll be a lot of teams who look to set themselves up like that. But I think the composure he showed to choose that option, but then the execution to pull it off was super impressive.
Very good. Just the last one from me was something that Bernard Jackman mentioned in his column at the weekend, and we have a new high performance director coming into the IRFU. But from your position, you must have seen a lot of players over the last few years that have been academy or squad players, and thought to yourself, if this guy played a full season in top 14 or Pro D2 in France or Gallagher Premiership, he'd come back to me a much better player. Do you think it's time maybe that they could loosen up the regulations around maybe loaning out players and how it would come back to provinces and benefit them?
It's a good question. It's not really something I've thought about, to be honest. I think in terms of our environment here at Connacht, We've got guys coming through the pathway that we're really excited about, and I think as long as we're creating opportunities for them, to play initially in those A-team games, the Connacht Eagles programme that we have at the start of the year, and then to look at ways to get them into the first team and give them opportunities. I think that's the bit we can really control. I don't think that happens by accident. I think in terms of being really well planned of how you integrate some of those academy guys or the younger development guys on senior contracts, how you integrate them into your training and actually give them meaningful parts in that, particularly in the front end of the week, a little bit further away from game time on the Saturday. I think that's crucial in terms of them getting used to that intensity. I think if you do that, then they can step up into the senior team pretty effectively. We've seen guys at Leinster do that consistently, and for us it's a big focus as well, particularly with this new group, and I suppose the new chapter for the club is how we bring those players through, and it's something we pride ourselves on as an organisation, but we have to live up to that as well.
Very good. Cheers, Pete. Thank you.
You may have given an injury update. If you have, that's fine, I'll get it later. But if not, I'm interested, Pete. JJ, what's the extent of his injury? And I think Caelan Blade was the other one that came off the other day. And indeed, if there is anybody else. And as I said, apologies if you've already...
No, you're okay. No, we did mention at the start, John, but no worries at all. Caelan, we expect to be available. He did come off with that ankle injury, but not as bad as we first thought. JJ's available and fit for selection. So his was a minor knee injury just from catching that high ball in the previous game. So he's available as well. Seamus Hurley-Langton passed his HIA protocols on Sunday and moving forward today into Monday and into this week. So he's available as well. So we expect to have a full deck to choose from.
Yeah, John Porch, I know I asked about him last week. He's available for selection as well, or
he is. Yeah, he's fit and available as well. Yep.
It's just a few long-term ones.
Yeah, and actually Paul Boyle is back training with us from today, and he's available for selection too. So he's one of the long-termers. He had a wrist injury. Which he's been rehabbing. So he's back this week.
And finally, did you see Edinburgh against Leinster? Have you broken that down? They had quite a formidable side, particularly formidable front row, and obviously they're going to need to bounce back from that. Were you impressed by them?
Yeah, well, I was impressed by them. I watched it live on the TV before our game on Saturday afternoon. I've watched it again since. I think when you see an Edinburgh team at full strength, they've got a very dangerous back three. Van der Merwe and Blair Kinghorn's I think a terrific footballer as well, whether he's playing at 10 or 15. Powerful front row and a big scrum on the back of that. So we know their strengths. It's interesting to see how they're evolving this season under Sean Everett in terms of the type of rugby they played last season. I do think they're changing their identity slightly there, and I think they'll be stronger at home than probably they were away from home against Leinster. So they'll have their frustrations coming out of that game, and we know it'll be a massive challenge. But we're really looking forward to it.
You know from your time there yourself how valuable home victories are for Edinburgh.
Yeah, I think it's something they'll pride themselves on. Particularly since they've moved into their new stadium there out the back at Murrayfield, they want to turn that into something of a fortress. I think it is important. Every team's home form is important in terms of where they're going to finish in the final standings. And for us historically, Connacht have found Scotland, whether it's Glasgow or Edinburgh, they found it a really tricky place to go away and play in terms of results that we've got there over the last 5 years. I'm really aware of that, but also in terms of us being able to actually play our game and I suppose implement our style of rugby there. So we've got to go about that really strategically. I think it'll be a great challenge for us, but I think these first 3 games have set us up well to be ready for that.